guys, and welcome to another lesson in RAMJB's AFV school, which means Armored Fighting Vehicles. In this one, we are going to see something more than just driving, which is what we saw in the last lesson. In this one, we are actually going to learn how to shoot at stuff. Of course, this lesson is based around my thoughts of what's going to be historical battles. Arcade is going to be totally different in that sense because, it's going to happen like in World of Tanks. In World of Tanks, you don't have to aim your gun; you simply point and shoot, and then the random number generator trolls you, and you don't hit something you were aiming at. But that's because there's a random factor. Here, there's no randomness. I mean, in tank guns, there was no random number generator. There was proper aiming or not proper aiming. So while in arcade it's going to be probably most a case of point and shoot because the gunner is going to be automatic, in historical battles and for real battles probably you will have to man your gun yourself and aim yourself and estimate ranges yourself and aim and shoot yourself, which means you should learn to do so, and that's why this lesson is happening. If you are planning only to play tanks in arcade, there's nothing wrong with learning how the real stuff actually fought, because there's nothing wrong with knowing new things. But probably this lesson is not going to be applicable for arcade battles, unlike other lessons which I guess and I think that are really useful for people who will play the tanks in any game mode. So what we are going to see in this lesson is exactly that: how to use your tank optics to aim for the enemy, how to estimate ranges, and how to shoot at enemies and try to hit them with a first shot kill, which is hugely important in tank-to-tank combat. Usually the first guy who shoots is the guy who wins. We are going to do this using the same game as in the last video, which is T-34 versus Tigers, a game that was released some years ago and is a really decent simulator of tank combat. And I'm going to use it with a Tiger, because the Tiger optics were the best of the era, and they allow for a much better representation in a video. You will see much clearer if I do this in a Tiger than if I do this in a T-34. Not because the principle is different, but because the T-34 sight is less it is smaller and harder to see. So, enough for the intro. Let's go for the theory and then see some action. What you are seeing here is a German gunsight. That's the gunsight of the Tiger, in fact. That's T-Zeta F9B gunsight, to be precise. Okay, what you have to see here is that the gunsight is actually a dial. You can rotate the gun, the inner dial, while the external circle remains fixated. In the inner circle, the one you can rotate, you will see several numbers and several dots. The numbers on the right side are the scales for the 8.8 centimeter gun, the famous Tigers 88, and they are scaled up in hundreds. So 0 is 0 meters, 2 is 200, 4 is 400, 6 is 600, 8 is 800, 10 is 1000, 12 is 1200, etc., etc., etc. And the way you aim your gun is taking measurement of the distance of the enemy, and you rotate the inner scale of that dial so the number below the big black triangle you can see up there is lined up with the distance you are predicting the target to be, plus a little bit of distance, but we will enter that later. Basically, in that dial you enter the range. Once you enter the range, the little triangles that are in the middle of the scale will move downwards and upwards depending on if you are rotating the scale to aim closer or farther. The farther you aim, the lower the dots are. To aim the gun, you have to enter the proper distance and place those triangles just under the target. I mean, just under the target means on the tracks of the target. And shoot. And once you shoot, you should be able to hit, because that's aiming your gun. Now, the scale on the left is the MG scale. Machine guns, of course, have different ballistics than the 88. So you could pre-aim with the machine gun, entering the range with the machine gun by rotating the scale, and when the machine gun started actually hitting, you would know the range. It's a very ineffective way to aim, because you need to shoot something and people will, I mean, if you are getting shot by a machine gun, you are going to know you are being shot. So, but that's the way to aim with the coaxial gun. Actually, what you had to do in aiming with the coaxial gun is you will see a very small line down to the left. Well, you rotate the dial until the proper range is lined up with that little line, and then the triangles in the middle will be the aiming point. That's basically it. There's also a correction for HE rounds. High explosive rounds have different ballistics than armor piercing ammo. And if you look carefully up to the right, just in the between the 12 and 14 numbers in the 8.88 dial, you will see a line, and that's the line to aim for with the high explosive, because the high explosive, of course, had different ballistics. But for purposes of this video, we are going to use only AP ammo. Also, I don't know exactly how much of precise is going to be War Thunder in depicting different ballistics depending on the ammo. So that little line might have an effect on gameplay or not, we'll see. Anyway, what we are going to do is how to aim with this gunsight. And as I told you, all you have to do is to range the proper distance in the dial, to put the distance the enemy is at under the big black triangle, and then place the center of the gunsight, the triangles you see in the middle, place them on the enemy and shoot. And should be a hit. Now, of course, what you are seeing here is basically what you can see in the gunsight in the middle before. And you can see one big triangle and several small triangles. And they are all separated exactly by the same distances. So let's put it this way: to estimate the target range, the biggest triangle and the smaller triangles you can see at the sides have to be used to measure the how big the target is for you in your gun sight. If you take the tip of the larger triangle in the center and you use the tips of the other triangles as references, it's very easy, very easy to understand and to see how exactly big it is in your gun sight. The distance between triangle points is exactly 4 units between them. Let's call those 1, 2, 3, 4 ticks. So between one triangle to the other triangle's extreme or top point, there are 4 ticks. It is enough to know that there are 4 tips between each triangle, and that the bigger triangle is exactly 4 ticks wide. And also, if you see the picture, it's also 4 ticks tall. I mean, the triangle has 4 ticks wide and is 4 ticks tall. The smaller ticks, if you look at the scale, they are exactly 2 ticks wide and 2 ticks tall. And this system allows you to estimate the target range with a high degree of accuracy. Of course, the closer they are, the easier it is to estimate the range. But even at very long distances, this is a very effective way. So, exactly, how do we aim with this, and how do we estimate target using this measurement? Well, next picture will show you how. So what you are seeing now is a scale. You can see in the upper right side 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is basically the scale you are using with your gun sight. So A tick is an imaginary subdivision of the spaces between the triangles. So, as there are 4 ticks between each triangle's tip, it's very easy to measure how big the target is. But if we also know the target size and the amount of ticks it occupies in your sight, within your gun sight, you can very easily determine its distance from your tank. So, if you know how wide or how long a target is, depending on the scale he's taking at you, I mean, he's aiming directly at you, you should know how wide it is. If it's perpendicular to you, you should know how long it is. If it's oblique, you have to take a middle ground between those two, depending on how inclined it is. But once you know those measurements, you can compare how big they are in your gun sight with the actual size they have, and with a very easy mathematical equation you will reach how far they are away from you. Well, I'm going to actually use this image and use text over it so you can see it very easily. The formula you're going to use to estimate the range to the enemy is the one you're seeing right now. It's target width or length or whatever the target is giving you, divided by the number of ticks taken in the optics times 1000, and that's the distance. It's as simple as that. So let's put some instances here. So let's say we have a T-34 in front of us, which size we know is 3 meters wide, 6 meters long. He's just aiming at you directly. In your gun sight, the T-34 feels exactly 4 ticks. So, which is the distance? All you have to do is divide the size of the target between the ticks. So 3 meters divided by 4 ticks, multiplied it by 1,750 meters, and that's the range of the enemy. Let's put another instance. Let's say now that what you have in front of you is an IS-2, which you know is 3 meters wide and 10 meters long, and he's exactly side on to you in a 90-degree angle. Let's say that you measure how big it is in your gun sight, and he's exactly 3 ticks in your gun sight. So, which is the distance? Well, it's all the same. It's 10 meters in sight divided by 3 ticks times 1000 equals 3,333 actually meters, but I rounded down to 3,330 meters. Of course, you might think, well, that's wishful thinking. So long, I'm going to never hit a target at those ranges, where actually Tigers were renowned to for hitting enemies at 3 kilometers away, or even more, 4 kilometers away. So, yeah, it's not wishful thinking at all. Let's put another and final instance. So let's say that now your target is a T-34 again, which again, you know, is 3 meters wide, 6 meters long. He's facing you in a 49-degree angle. He's perfectly oblique to you. Your gun sight, the T-34 feels 9 ticks. So, which is the distance to the target? First, we have to do an estimation of the width relative to ours. He's oblique towards us. So, as he's perfectly oblique in a 45-degree angle, he's more or less 4.5 meters. It's a midpoint between 3 and 6 meters. So 4.9 divided by 9 times 1000 is going to be at exactly 500 meters. And that's how you estimate the target's range. The rest is just pointing your gun at them. Now, of course, there's another thing here. And that's that when you are using your gun sight, you have to place the gun sight just below the enemy tank or target. Might be a truck, as you can see in this image. As you have to put the triangles down there, the cell is going to fall in that line. So it's going to fall exactly at the feet of the enemy tank. It's not going to hit it. It's going to fall just short of it, because you are aiming at exactly the range it is at. How to compensate for that? Well, you will have to shoot a little bit farther to compensate for the fact that the tank has elevation. It's not in a point exactly at that range. It's actually the range you are measuring is exactly at the point where the tank starts spinning. So you have to aim farther away, so the cell goes a little bit higher and directly impacts into it. So how do you do this? Well, there are several and different mathematical ways and mechanical ways to do it. There's even a side roller for distance. I mean, for this distance you have to compensate for that depending on the width of the target, etc., and on the height of the target, etc. For me, anything under 1,000 meters gets an overestimation of 200 meters or 150 meters more or less. Anything over that range gets 100 meters, and with that I'm golden most of the time. Really, you have to account for that, because otherwise you are not going to hit. You are going to the shot is going to fall just at the feet of the enemy, so you have to aim a little bit higher. The closer it is, the more you have to compensate for that, of course, because the higher the target will look in comparison to you. So yeah, that's it. I'm going to put this image again, because it actually serves very well. You can see here several different instances of ranging T-34. You can see an instance of 750 meters, another instance of 1,500 meters, with the T-34 just directly aimed towards you. You can also see how it looks from 3,000 meters or 1,500 meters from a side-on perspective. But well, that's enough theory. Let's see some actual footage and some action, some actual shooting and how this thing works. So here we are in our trusty Tiger tank, and we are going to do some shooting. So let's get started. Engine started, RPMs up, brake gone, gear up, and let's get going. And yeah, so what we are going to do is to, well, move ahead of that guy, go to that little hill there. To the other side there should be enemies, so we are going to shoot them. That's the plan, at least. So once we come at this zone, more or less, we should be very careful and stop the tank a little bit. To start moving up, but at a much lower rate that will allow us to see what's at the other side. So there's nothing so far. Oh, guns. So let's stop the tank, bring the gunner view, aim to that area. The funniest thing is we can still see them because we are in a turret down position. We will see what a turret down position is in another tutorial, but in the meanwhile, let's get going. Slow by slow, not rushing at all. We don't want to give us as a easy target to those guns. There you go. Let's stop and measure. Let's say that thing is maybe 5 meters wide, and that's taking some 8 ticks. That's some 600 meters. Well, let's have maybe 100 and shoot at 700. Shoot and direct hit. Oh, those guys already know they are here. Those are a little bit farther, so let's aim, shoot and destroy them. And that's how you do things. Those are two very dead Russian guns. So, we have another one there. So let's move back to the gunner. Up there, they are a little bit further, but I think that with this we should be able to hit them. Actually, we did, but you could see that it fell just at the point where the gun was. In the other, we were aiming at the center, so you have to be careful with that. Okay, let's move on. I don't know if there's going to be more guns there. Probably will. So with a lot of care. Yeah, there's another one there. Okay, stop. Shoot. And another gun gone. That's how you do things, and all is because of first range estimation. 4 shots, 4 hits. So let's go back to the commander's view. and see if we see more stuff. Ooh, look at that. Those are trucks. So let's stop. Bring the gun to beer. Those seem more or less the same. 800. One less. Ooh, tanks, tanks, tanks. We have the range. We have the range. Okay, shoot, hit. Let's pepper those guys with machine guns. Those should be a little bit farther, maybe in 100. There you go. They are actually closer, but as you saw in the lesson, we are actually compensating for the fact that we want to hit them in the middle. Not a defeat, that's a hit, and that guy is done. No, you noob! And another tank. Hit again. No, that actually missed. It went wide. No, that didn't miss at all. Yeah, was I mean a little bit beyond. You really need to aim at the tracks. That's a hit. That's totally a hit. Let's destroy this guy. He's pissing me off. This guy seems to be dead, but let's make it sure he's dead. Hit again in the tracks. We are actually so compensating for the fact that he's taller. There you go, another hit. I think those two guys are pretty much dead. We are going to put another one in that guy just for the sake of it. Yet another hit, and yeah, those are a lot of very dead Russians. So let's move on. See what more we see. More tanks, maybe. Seems something is shooting down there. I don't know exactly what it is. Down there it seems clear. Oh, gun. Okay, let's stop. Bring the gun to beer. Increase the elevation to match. There you go. Okay, that's 5 meters. Maybe it's 10. 500 meters plus 200. This should be enough. And no, it went a little bit too high. The fact is, I don't really know how big those things are. But that's a hit, and that's the mission complete. And as you could see, we missed one shot. Out of how many we shot? Let's see that. S to return to the menu. Shots fired 54, hits landed 54. Oh, really? I swear I have missed one shot at least. Well, there are 54 because I also fired with machine guns, so that explains the higher number. But well, if the game says I hit, I hit. Who I am to complain? Anyway, you can see it's very easy to aim. Once you know how to calculate distances and how to deal them into the gun sight, gun laying is just a matter of point and shoot, but you have to estimate the range correctly. And for that, German gun sights are going to be better because they can show much clearer images at long distances. So yeah, also there was a little bit problem because I don't really know how big a C3 gun is, but well, I did a rough estimation and turned to be correct. So well, that's it for this video, guys. I hope you learned something that you enjoy, and as always, thank you very much for watching, and see you later.